You gotta be kidding me! Alright guys, it's a new week of Keystones. Sounds like it's gonna be easy A-fixes. Let's get into it and blast through some of these keys. All 15's done by the end of this week. Great pull tank. Good kills, guys. Jesus Christ! The hell is that? Alright, guys, just take it easy, take it slow, be Please just get us out of combat so I can drink! What's up YouTube? We are back at it again today with a new weekly series highlighting the tips, tricks, and changes going on in Mythic Plus. If you couldn't tell from that intro, you better buckle in because today is going to be a doozy. Let's get into it. Before we get started, I'd like to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, and that is my Twitch stream. Without the love and support of the Rage Nation community, I couldn't do what I do, so thank you guys. Alright, I want to keep these weekly Mythic Plus updates short and sweet so you can spend more time blasting through some keystones and less time listening to my ugly gob. So to start, this week, the week of December 22nd, we're dealing with Spiteful, Grievous, and Fortified with the seasonal affix of Prideful. Spiteful is a new affix that causes shadowy enemies to rise from the corpses of the fallen. They lock onto a party member and pursue them for no more than 13 seconds as they lose 8% of their HP per second. They can be CC'd and attacked as a normal mob, however, deal massive damage to their focus target upon reaching them. While they don't spawn from every fallen enemy, they will appear from most, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason behind which ones they spawn from. Literally.
They definitely
Oh my god in heaven. Run! Run for your lives!
Binding is down, watch out for the slime.
Moving right along to Grievous. Grievous is a familiar face with a sassy new twist, as now damage dealt from Grievous is a flat amount that scales with keystone level instead of a percentage of the player's maximum health. In addition, all direct healing not dealt via HOTS removes one application of Grievous. These changes are a massive quality of life update for healers. As we saw in BFA, certain healers were almost completely incapable of handling this affix without using every cooldown in their arsenal. Now looking at Fortified. It's the same old, however, with dungeons being significantly more difficult and gearing up being much more laborious task than it has been in old expansions. These Fortified mobs are not in the business of messing around. You want that plus 10 chested, you better be bringing raid consumables, son. Finally, let's look at our seasonal affix, which is Prideful. Prideful, as most of you have seen by now, but we'll touch on for those of you who may not have had the pleasure of meeting one of these sacks of in a 10 or higher key, spawn every 20% of enemy forces you kill. This mob has a stacking debuff that caps out at 20 that pulses, dealing increased damage to all players within 60 yards every 2 seconds. It will also target one player every 7 seconds and cause them to fire a beam in 4 different cardinal directions, with their body being the origin. These guys are not fun. Alright, now for some tips and tricks to help conquer this assortment of affixes. Be able to identify necessary kiting patterns before mobs are dead or are even pulled. Spiteful spawning on your melee in the middle of a pack of mobs will almost certainly two-shot them, so make sure that proper CCs are placed before mobs actually die, and begin backpedaling around the 5% HP level. Also to point out, make sure to save hard CCs for the areas and dungeons like Halls of Atonement or Sanguine Depths where long kite patterns may not be an option due to the layout of the dungeon. Save health pots and major defensives for Prideful, with Prideful dealing massive amounts of ticking damage until killed, and your healer likely already turning to drugs and alcohol due to Grievous. Be kind and throw up a wall or down a potion to help ensure everyone gets out alive. Alright, lastly, let's check out dungeon changes that recently went into effect and should all be live for your Keystone experiences this week. As with all my videos, the information obtained here was done either via the game or from WoWhead.com. First, let's check out the changes in Spires of Ascension. For starters, each Forsworn Goliath's health was reduced by 25%. With these mobs being one of the most threatening in the dungeon and most routes being based around interacting with the fewest of them, this is an absolutely massive change. You can really feel the difference, and bolstering weeks with these buggers should be less of a nightmare. Same with the Kyrian Dark Predators, who lost 30% of their previous health pools. Sorry, fellas. Next, Ether Divers no longer cast Maw Touch Spittle, which should help the party focus on burning down these packs of tank busters, who still have a pretty lethal, albeit dispellable dive. Moving right along, Forsworn Hellions no longer use the Crescendo ability, and if you're like me and ate nearly every single one of these very poorly dialogued attacks, this is big news. Finally, for this dungeon, the Intimidated and Oppression debuffs placed on your party by the final 3 mobs in the dungeon, who are endearingly referred to as the Lieutenants, no longer persist after the mob casting the debuff is defeated. Looking next at Theater of Pain. Kolthrok now appropriately casts 2 different locations of Grasping Hands, and bugs involving souls not being bound by Grasping Hands have been fixed. As for Mordretha, the final boss, her periodic damage dealt by Echoes of Carnage has been reduced by 50%, while her cast time with Dark Devastation was increased from 1.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Lastly, her Ghostly Charge cast time was also increased from 2 seconds to 3.5 seconds. Yay for massive nerfs! Moving right along to Plaguefall. Fungalmancer's Binding Fungus can now be interrupted and it has a cast time of 3 seconds. This allows players to save their stuns, fears, etc. for Fungistorm, the more lethal ability of these packs. Speaking of Fungistorm, its damage was reduced by 20%. Brood Ambushers before the 3rd boss can now be interrupted when casting Enveloping Webbing, which allows stuns, fears, etc. to be used on interrupting her Stealthling's cast, the much more lethal of the abilities. Finally, Globgrog had his health reduced by 10% on all difficulties, and the health of his Slimy Smorgasbord was reduced by 15% on Mythic difficulty. Massive win. Last, but certainly not least, massive tuning on Amarth, the second and one of the more difficult bosses in the Necrotic Wake. His Tortured Echoes, a scaling dot based on the number of dead on the field, now expires after 30 seconds when before it was a permanent buff. However, its damage has been increased by 100%. This creates a window of healing cooldowns instead of a permanent, massive damage taken by the entire party throughout the entirety of the fight. Guys, thank you so much for making it through another video. I hope you enjoyed what you saw as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did enjoy what you saw here, please make sure to hit that little thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe. It helps me out more than you could possibly know. If you really enjoyed what you saw and you want to talk to me maybe a little bit more about Guardian Druids, Dungeons, or Beards, I'm live on Twitch most days except for Sunday, 5 p.m. EST until 10 to midnight. Check me out there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you guys take care of each other. Happy holidays to you guys. And remember, we rage because we care. I'll see you guys.